Greg Rousseau is a guy that seems consistently to get a little bit better every single year. And I think he's doing a better job of using his strength and length this season. Where have you seen that development from last year to this year with Greg?
Yeah, I think as Greg's learned himself and, even, you know, grown as a professional athlete, finding what he does well, and I think he's finding the things that he does well. And like I've said before, he's finding what his fastball is and what his changeup is and not trying too many pitches, and I think the more you can try to master a couple different things as opposed to 1,000 different things, you have a good shot at being pretty good at it. And Greg's obviously really talented. He's extremely long. Obviously we understand the height and the wingspan and all those things. So he's finding some of those things that he'd like to major in, and I think that's just what you're saying.
Is it? You talk about he's finding those things as almost like it's easy to do, and he's talked a lot about having that pass rush plan, understanding what works. How hard is it to get to that point where you understand what your fastball is, and then when you get there, how much of a difference does that make?
I think as you develop as a professional and you adapt to the NFL game, I think the more trial and error you have, and trying different things and really figuring out who you are, that's the most important thing. Yes, have an awareness of the opponent, but understand who you are and what your strengths are and those type of things. So, I think it's different for everybody. I think it's different by position, right? Every position, entails a couple of, different things. And I think once you find that and kind of, find where your rhythm is, it's absolutely crucial. And, hopefully you're seeing the best version of yourself.
Thanks a lot, Bob. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Hey, Bobby. First thing on Dawuane Smoot. Obviously going to be out without him for a few weeks here. What's he meant to your defense? And I guess let's just start there. What's he meant to your defense?
Smoot's been an awesome addition. He's a very good football player. He's a little bit throwback in the way he plays, and he's extremely intense. He's extremely physical. He loves the physical side of the game. And he brings a demeanor that you like on your defense, kind of a tone setter, if you will. And it's been crucial. And then, his veteran presence has been really good in the defensive line room. Extremely intelligent player, understands the scheme, communicates well. That's really what he's meant to us.
Without him now, and how much he's meant, and talking to Ed a few weeks ago about just him coming in and calling the defense on third down for you guys up front. Who has to kind of step up and fill that void?
We're looking into that right now, and there's a couple different options, couple different ways we can go. But that's definitely something that's got to be addressed at this point, and just moving forward. And we've already had this contingency before. Maybe that's the right contingency. Maybe it's not. But fortunately, we have a little bit of time here before we play on Sunday to kind of carve out what that might be. And it could be week in and week out. It could be a different plan each week on how we want to attack that. And, we'll see how it goes.
Thanks, Bobby.
Coach Babich, Mookie Hawkins, Waffle Sports 1080. Great
What's
winner
up,
yesterday. I see X got your name right today. I see X got your name right.
Yeah. X. Now he's going to take it to a whole nother level.
Absolutely. Coach, if you care to talk about another level, Kaiir Elam's performance yesterday.
Yeah, it was good to see Kaiir out there. It was good to see him back on the field. Did some things well, some things like everybody that, he's got to improve on and focus on. And, did a pretty solid job yesterday. And like I said before, it was good to see him out there. And he definitely was ready for the moment.
Absolutely. Just that process, because he had one hell of a training camp. Just get to talk about that process from Kaiir, from training camp up until Sunday's game.
Yeah, it's not easy, right? He had a good training camp, and the way we've gone is we've had two healthy guys that won the jobs, and he's handled it in a professional manner. He's come to work every day. He's had a role on special teams, and we had an old quarterback, Jake Delhomme, that came and spoke to our team at one point. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, and his deal, he had to wait until it was his turn, and his quote. I always go back to this and use it for younger guys: is work while you wait. You got to put in the work while you wait, because when your opportunity comes, you just got to be ready and you got to jump on it. Kaiir's certainly done that. He's putting the work in, and we're still going to coach every player. We're still going to pinpoint the things where every player needs to improve and point out the things they're doing well.
Absolutely. What did your good friend Mike McDaniel say to you after the game?
I did not get a chance to talk to him. And rightfully so. I'm sure he was not very happy with the outcome, but they did a great job. They came to play, and he had the guys ready to go.
Absolutely. Tough division opponent. You play them twice. We know how tough that could be, right, Coach?
That's right.
Absolutely. Right. Appreciate your time, Coach. Good luck this week.
You got it. Thanks, Mookie.
Hey, Bobby, you guys rank top 5 in takeaways so far this season. Why do you think the defense has been able to take the ball away at such a high rate? I know every game is different, but kind of looking at it from a big picture approach.
Yeah, I think it's just about what you emphasize, Maddie. And we emphasize it all the time. We talk about it. We show it. We celebrate it. We show opportunities that a team might present to where we can take the ball away. As far as it is, going as far as each week showing the guys select forced fumbles and interceptions throughout the NFL from the week before, so there's a lot that goes into it, but really you get what you emphasize. And for years here, that's what we've emphasized, and we've been able to take it away at a pretty good clip.
What's that difference between being like a boom or bust defense where you're trying to give it all on every single play and you're missing a lot, versus being a defense that is structurally sound and playing in the right way where, hey, we're going to take advantage of those opportunities to take it away when we get it, but not make that our entire identity?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think first you start with defensive structure, and you talk about, I've been in a lot of different schemes in this league, and, you talk about having answers structurally to potentially what an opponent's doing or where you're getting hurt, or if something happens and it's not a good play for us defensively, having the answers of how we can fix it, how we can adjust, all those type of things. And not just completely wholesaling to another defense, if that makes sense. So first off, having those answers, and then being simple enough but complex enough to where our guys can play fast and really focus on the ball, and it's, if you got a lot of scheme, it's hard to emphasize things that aren't related to the scheme, so there's a happy medium, like you're talking about, Maddie, to where, you have a structure, you can provide answers, and then being able to emphasize the fundamentals.
Definitely. When it comes to preparing for this week's game against the Colts, they've got a running back in Jonathan Taylor, who I know has had an up and down season, but can be a running back that can wreck a defense quickly if he gets hot. How do you look back at this week's film and help use this past week's game as a way to teach for this upcoming opponent?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, when you look at it, and talking about this game, there were some things fundamentally, I think we all know how we play Miami, because there's such a threat on the outside. And I think everybody realizes that. And, they do such a great job in the run game. They have the threats on the outside. So, you have to approach them in a certain way that, maybe you are a little lighter, whatever it is in the box, whatever that structure is that you want to go after them. And really, when it comes down to it, for us fundamentally, I feel like there's a lot of things, even when you look at the first Miami game compared to this Miami game, fundamentally in the run game, where we can be a lot better. And, it's not good enough just being in. First off, you need to be in your gap. It's not just good enough to be in your gap. You've got to be able to, shed a block, use your block to block destruction techniques and those type of things. So there's a lot of things we can emphasize, which will be really good for us going into this week, because Taylor he's a great back. He's still a great back, and he's a problem.
Thanks, Bobby.
You got it.
Hey, Bobby, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Yesterday kind of came down to a couple plays, all in all, and I kind of look at the stand you guys had in the third quarter where you held them to a field goal.
Yep.
You had back-to-back stops on screenplays.
Mm-hmm.
How unusual is it to get back-to-back screenplays like that? And, how did you guys were you sitting on those, or was it more of a read and diagnose kind of deal?
That's a good question. So, the Dolphins are a back-to-back screen team. They will screen you back-to-back. They did it to us in the first game, and they're a very good screen team because of their ability in space. They structure their screens really well. The timing on their screens is really good. And, there's certain keys that you try to find each week, whether it's down and distance, you try to give them all these tips. So the guys did a good job sniffing them out, understanding certain things that we were looking for, as far as what screen indicators could possibly be. And it was, to your point, it was a big stop in the red zone. And, fortunately they only came away with 3.
The occasional screen and, dump offs to the flats or bootlegs to the flats have kind of been problematic at times for you guys this year. Is that not seeing it? Is that alignment? Is that not reacting quick enough?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that go into it. We're a penetrating defense, so we're naturally going to get screened. We're going to get booted. We're an aggressive defense, as far as attacking the line of scrimmage, and those are all things that people are attacking us with right now. Our guys have done a pretty good job up to yesterday. Not including the Miami game, recognizing those and being aware of those and getting retrace from the D line. We put a lot of emphasis on that, and we've shown a lot of improvement in that area. And when you look at all those different kind of perimeter plays, call it, I'd like to say there was one area where we needed to improve, but every play is different. So there might be a little something on this play. There might be a little something on that play, per player, scheme, whatever that may be, to where, to your point, eyes are the number one thing in football, and you got to have your eyes in the right spot and communication pre-snap.
And then, since Rasul's gotten here, he's kind of developed a tight relationship with Christian and Kaiir. What kind of impact has he had on them since he's gotten here?
Yeah, I think it's been a veteran that has 2 younger guys there that, have a lot of respect for each other. And, I believe Rasul wants nothing but, success for those guys. And, so I think he provides them a little bit of a sounding board on things they might see, and he can confirm or say, hey, maybe you look at this a little bit differently. But it's been really cool to see.
Thanks.
You got it.
Hey, Bobby, it's Jay with the Buffalo News. Maddie, how you doing? Maddie asked you a little bit earlier about, slowing Taylor down. My question was a little bit similar on the run defense. 2 weeks ago in Seattle, you basically shut the running game out entirely against the Seahawks. And then yesterday, Sean said earlier on his call that it was frankly too easy for Miami to run the ball. I guess what changed to lead to that being the case?
You're saying change from Seattle?
Yeah, them? Why did it go from being so good against the Seahawks to having the struggles that you did yesterday?
Yeah, you got to account, not with every NFL team, you got to account for a lot of things, but the threat of the speed on the outside with Miami creates a conflict for you, because if you want to go to single high defense, you certainly can, and there's times that you can, that you call certain defenses or whatever those defenses are, those heavier box defenses, and then you got to handle on the outsides. You got to handle the guys on the outsides. And, it's a little bit of pick your poison. Now, going to the run game, when Sean's talking about, how I think you said the quote was easy.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah. I talked about it earlier to where fundamentally, to me, making sure on certain motions, and they certainly do a great job with all their motions to where you've got to create new edges or things like that. We've got to make sure we just do a better job fundamentally. What's that start with? That starts with our eyes. And then what does my key tell me to do? And then getting my hands in a proper position, making sure I'm in my gap. Once I am in a block destruction mode, being able to what we call gap and a half and fall off if I have to fall back off inside. And, I think for me, when I look at it, that even if you go back to the first Miami game, the biggest difference between the two was our ability in the block destruction phase of things. You know what I'm saying? So, it's a little bit starts with a pick your poison, and then it turns into us making sure that we do a good job handling our fundamentals and what we're doing. Our guys understand the plan and how we play those guys, if that makes sense to you. And so, yeah, I mean, fundamentally, there was a little bit of a gap there.
Going back to even when Leslie was here and Sean, you guys would a lot of times you would hear making teams one dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday I think you probably didn't do that to the level that you need to.
That's right.
It was yesterday a really good example of when you're struggling to stop the run, what it can do for an opposing offense in terms of having success, because they had more success than really an offense has had since Baltimore, probably.
Yeah. And that's a great question, because it is. I mean, if you can make an offense one dimensional, that really allows you to play a little bit freer. When you have the ability on any given play to be able to run it or pass it, now it really comes down to, okay, what personnel grouping? What's this call tell me to do? What's this? What's it? Okay, what's my keys? Run pass keys, play action versus drop back versus boot versus. But if you could get a team one dimensional, there's a little bit less of that because I know what's coming, in a sense. If that, not necessarily the play, but the style of play. And absolutely, it's 100% what you're talking about. If they can run the ball, and it goes even deeper than that. If we get a stop on 1st and 10, and then we don't win 2nd down, it doesn't matter. Now we're into 3rd and short, and as much as NFL teams in general are going for it on 4th down, now you get to 3rd and short. Is it run? Is it pass? Are they treating this like 4 down? How are they treating this? So, there's a lot that goes into it, but if any offense can stay 2-dimensional, it's hard on a defense, and it's a defense's job to make them 1-dimensional.
Yeah. Thanks, Bobby.
Absolutely.
Good afternoon, Coach Babich. George Radney, Challenger Community News. How you doing this
Hey,
afternoon?
George, how are you?
Pretty good. First question is, on these wrist injuries, I noticed DC Dwayne Carter as well as Dawuane Smoot with wrists. Normally, you guys have broken fingers or dislocated fingers, from hitting. But how are these wrist injuries occurring? Is it on tackles or is it on blocking or techniques? How is this coming about?
George, I wish I knew. Because if I could help prevent them, I would.
Yeah, it's mostly usually the fingers and things of that nature, but wrists, that's odd. And now you have 2 people with the same, what sounds like a similar type injury at the present time. But next question for you, Kingsley Jonathan, how's he been doing on the? I know he's on the practice squad. He had some playing time last year. How's he been coming along this season?
He's doing a great job, working his butt off every day, comes to work with a smile on his face and works his butt off. And Kingsley's a very important member of our team.
Yeah, and also with your scheming on the defensive side, it seemed like, was it the misdirection of what Tua was doing with the ball that seemed to cause the defense a little confusion and allowing their running game to go because of the misdirection that they were running?
There's a lot that goes into it, George, with Miami. There's a lot of motion. There's a lot of different ball handling that they use. There's a lot of different things. But in the end, we played them plenty of times. We know the style of play. We know, and we can be better on our end on a lot of different things.
And now when you get next week, you go into Indianapolis and you face this time a quarterback that's more of a in the pocket statue, what we used to call a statue type quarterback. Does that also help your defense in gearing up and coming up with a game plan of how to contain a quarterback like a veteran quarterback like a Joe Flacco?
Yeah, I mean, every quarterback presents their own challenges, right? And you know, we have to handle our business, George. We have to play our brand of football. We have to have an awareness of our opponent, and we got to come up with a good plan for our players. We got to get them playing fast and, you know, executing. And if we can do that, you know, usually we're in pretty good shape.